Let's see. The next fight is Hakeem Dawodu taking on Zubaira Tukhugov in another very closely lined fight. And I say another one, that's the wrong way to put that. There's only like two closely lined fights on the
Yeah,
entire card. This is one of
yeah.
the few. And Hakeem is a guy that I just don't quite know what to do with. He's 11-1-1, and he's been relatively impressive so far in the UFC. But the competition hasn't necessarily been the best, and some of the guys he's beaten are no longer with the promotion. Zubair Tukhugov, a bunch more experience. He's 19-4-1. He's looked nothing but solid in the UFC himself, but kind of the same competition level experience. I'm not sure which one of these guys is legit, even though they both seem to pass the smell test for me. Talk to me, Matt. Who do you like here?
I'll tell you one of the interesting things that I've noticed, and there's certain fighters where you say, man, the marketplace really seems to get him, and Duaju seems to be one of those guys. So Julio Arce opened as a small favorite against him in his last fight. And that line quickly went in Duadu's way, and I saw it go as high as, I don't know, 55 or 60 on Duadu. I mean, a huge from a favorite flip all the way to one guy being 60, and he got the job done against Julio Arce. In a match where you say maybe even, maybe Arce had some slight edges. I mean, all things being even, and I thought it was a dead even fight. Suddenly, all the money went on Duadu, and he won that fight. I think the market's been pretty good about predicting his performances, when they're going to be good, when they're not going to be so good. And that's a little bit, even with the Kyle Bochniak fight. I mean, I think we saw like a 170 open and like a 200 plus close. And again, Bochniak, a very durable guy, he went in there and got it done. So when the money seems to roll in on Duaju, then I tend to pay very close attention, but that hasn't been the case here. In fact, people are betting against them. But everyone I talk to about this fight, I always say, man, this is a really good scrap. Because to your point, there's not a lot of pick'em fights here. And everyone always goes back to the loss by Tukhugov. Oh, he had an awesome fight with Carnero. What a fight with Carnero. And I'm like, yeah, but he lost that fight. And okay, I mean, sometimes you enhance yourself through a loss. This one's tough for me because sometimes you get a guy like Tukhugov who's coming off that KO win that he had in the first round against Kevin Aguiar. The worst thing he could do here probably is stand and trade with Hakeem, who is a devastating striker. I don't know what to make of this one. Tukhugov he has good wrestling, but he never uses it. He ends up standing and banging every fight, and that plays right into Hakeem. They're both 5'8". They're both going to kind of bang the same way. This is a really interesting fight. What caught my attention is, and I know we're in the bigger octagon, they both have power. They both have finishing ability. And yet the over-under is 2.5 over minus 200. They're saying this thing's almost a deadlock to go the distance. I'm not really sure. They both certainly can hurt each other here. So I haven't picked a side yet, but I'm certainly considering playing the under 2.5 rounds, especially in the plus 170 range.
That's not a bad angle to tank on it because as much as Hakeem is a vicious finisher, he's got that power, he's underrated strong. I've seen him clipped. I've seen him
Yeah.
wobbled. He's been wobbled by some of these guys before, and Zabir Tukhugov, kind of like you said, he's coming off a big knockout win. And what I've noticed he does really well is he plays the outside. He's extremely elusive, and then when he gets in, he is all in, and he's extremely fast. If he hurts Hakeem Dawodu, I think he could be well on his way to another knockout. And similarly, Hakeem, we've seen he's capable of just roughing people up and pinning them up against the fence and just mauling them with elbows from in the clinch. I think you're absolutely right. Both guys absolutely have a chance, an opportunity to finish this fight. Plus 175 is not a bad line. I was starting to lean more towards Tukhugov myself when it comes towards a pick'em fight, simply because of the durability concerns I have with Hakeem. But Hakeem's got a 5-inch reach advantage. And then I looked up the stats, and even though I say that Zubair Tukhugov is a elusive fighter. He averages 2.58 significant strikes a minute and absorbs 2.07. So he's only outstriking his opposition by about a half significant strike per minute. Hakeem, on the other hand, outputs 5.28 landed a minute and absorbs 2.3. So he's been outlanding his competition so far by a whopping 2.5 significant strikes per minute, almost a full 3 significant strikes per minute. So honestly, this is one that I think a pass is definitely warranted because Hakeem could just maul Tukhugov. Tukhugov could use that output against Hakeem and then land a big knockout punch and sit him down. Maybe the under is the safest way to play it.
And I think Hakeem gets a bad rep here for his level of competition. People say he hasn't fought the toughest guys, but Julio Arce was a tough fight. Kyle Bochniak was a tough fight. And don't forget, before coming to the UFC, he fought several times. I mean, maybe 6 or 7 times in World Series of Fighting where he beat Steven Seiler. He had those 2 fights with Murat Magomedov where the first fight was a draw with Magomedov, but Hakeem came back to knock him out in the second fight. And he was a beast in WSOF. I think he won like 4 or 5 in a row before he fought Magomedov. So, I mean, I actually think Hakeem's, he doesn't have one of those regional built-up records. WSOF and UFC, basically, those are 2 pretty legit organizations.
He's earned every single win on his record.
Correct.
Yeah. That one, honestly, I don't think I'm going to end up taking a side on. I think I feel that one needs to stay a pass for me. And sometimes I get that itchy trigger finger. It's a little difficult for me because this one's a pick 'em for a reason. And if you pick a side on this fight, you're flipping a coin. Just understand that. So if you get, plus 115, plus 120 on Hakeem, if the money keeps on coming in on Zubaira Tukhugov, I don't mind that because then you're flipping that coin with a little bit of extra dog money. But if it stays around this minus 110 range, I'm not planning on touching either of these fighters.
I'm with you. If the money continues to roll in on the Russian here and you can get plus 115 or 20 or maybe even a little better, then I certainly would take a shot. If not, I may lean toward the under because it's certainly not out of the realm of possibility one guy gets a finish. But right now at this price and the odds say it, you're literally flipping coins. And I just don't see a stylistic advantage for either guy here.
Agreed.